Hey guys, welcome to game 2 between White and Tom. Up right in corner we have White starting as the red Protoss. I did a color swap, by the way. He did go for his classic white, but I color swapped him to make sure it wasn't white versus gray, which can be sometimes a little bit misleading. But he will be the red Protoss here, bottom left hand corner. We got Tom starting as the blue Zerg. This is going to be on Eclipse. And I will say with Tom spawning in the bottom left hand corner, I feel like that gives him a bit, and knowing the macro plays that Tom aims for, if White opts to go for a macro oriented match once again, and he allows Tom to go ahead and grab this upper left hand base, which just gives a lot of gas. I feel like what oftentimes happens is you have that fight in the upper left hand corner, and it's usually one player trying to deny the base to the other player. And I feel like when Zerg spawns bottom left, it gives them a pretty good head start because you have the lower ramp to go down to take this territory. I feel like for whatever reason, it's the bottom left-hand corner player that more often is seizing control of the top left-hand base, and getting that double gas hit any stage is absolutely critical. Even though it's split across in 6,000, having a mine twice as fast, especially at critical moments, late game, can be bonus. That is depending if we are going to in fact see a late game match. And I'm wondering if we're going to see a gateway opener here from White this time. Nope, going to see Forge once again. Overpool this time here for Tom, because it is that makes sense on a two-player map. I have to say that the Protoss players who've really taken the fight to Tom early, more often than I have seen them strike a lot of success. When you just let Tom sit back and macro, he just, especially when he hits that hive tech and he's got all of the pieces lined up, he just is very, very good at just macroing and throwing units all over the place. White actually did a fantastic job, in my opinion, of side storming. Like, the trades were really good on White's part previous match, but it just came down to he just didn't have enough bases compared to Tom on 4-player maps, and that's particularly advantageous, I would say, on 4-player maps. A little bit less advantageous potentially on a map like Deja Vu, where it can be hard to break out of the quadrants. But it'll be curious to see if on Eclipse, where you've got that upper left hand base open, if Tom succeeds once again. So we've got the hatchery plopping down. Just this time we do have 4 Zerglings constructed rather than just 2, and a cannon. That might be because of the map feature, and the Nexus dropping in the midst of this after the single cannon towards the front. So Tom at least orienting initially to more defensive play, and actually might be able to just, yeah, he's leaving the 2 Zerglings short because White has not sent out a probe scout, which is very surprising. Overlord slowly making his way out. Maybe he's going to, yeah, he's got to get something out on the map quickly. So the probe is spotted by the Overlord as it's coming across. Zerglings streaming in, and I've already gotten a couple free hits. These Zerglings can probably hold the ramp line, and that will deny a considerable amount of information. One Zergling loses his life, by the way, to the cannon on the front. I wasn't expecting it to run that far in. Probe on the edge just in case there was a run by, because it is possible some Zerglings would go all the way around out of vision line. But is Tom going to hold the ramp? So he's got the 2 Zerglings here. Okay, now engaging. And the probe going to go ahead and back off for White. He is not, he's leaving it open though. Is the probe going to be, or the drone I should say, no, not able to deny the information. So able to walk in, able to see the drone spread there. Is the Zergling just kind of waiting alongside. Almost able to wipe it out, but I think White is going to be able to cycle up to that 9 o'clock location. Let's see if he moves another probe out onto the lines. In the meantime, Cybernetics Core is warping in. We've got the Nexus at the natural expansion. Tom is positioning that Overlord to go ahead and check that second geyser pretty rapidly. White's able to confirm the 3rd hatchery location in the midst of this, and so now just wants to keep that probe alive to keep an eye. He did a really good job game 1. He also wants to be able to confirm that layer. Let's see, is that Zergling going to kind of cap that edge? Come on, Zergling. Wake up, Zergling. No, not able to deny the information. So once again, layer has been detected, which allows White to feel a little bit more comfortable about the mid game, although the probe has now been dispatched. Overlord going kind of an odd route around, so careening across that natural expansion, going to dive all the way into the main to try to confirm the Cybernetics Core. But we do have a Citadel of Adun being built, and it looks like the assimilator being dropped as that Overlord is detecting. I think just seeing that second assimilator, you have to assume that the Citadel of Adun is in play and that there's potentially more gas tech being invested. In the meantime, we do have the Spire along the way. Stargate's finished. This Overlord is going to die one way or the other. But the Corsair should be able to get its way across the map to confirm the drone saturation. It looks like we have some, surprisingly, some Zerglings being constructed. We do have two Zealots. Oh, it's because of the Zealots. I missed the Zealot move out here from White. So moving out initially, that has queued up. Some Zerglings are running out to the 9 o'clock location to potentially defend there, but mostly White was just hoping to force vision and force a couple Zerglings out, and he was successful in doing so. Fourth hatchery being constructed. Corsair is actually going to go for the near side Overlord rather than moving out and getting extra confirmation here. And that actually might, we'll see if that lines up things. Tom overbuilt Zerglings actually, potentially. He's got a full control group of actually Zerglings out in the field here in the mid game. And he should have, especially seeing that assimilator, maybe should have known he didn't have to really commit too hard. But now, briefly shooting the gap, the Zealots are there. That shocks me. Okay, so Tom testing it, now going to go ahead and back out. Moving the Zerglings across the map top left. I think he's just trying to scan for additional, try to see what's out there. No Scourge. Okay, there's the Scourge produced. Feels a little bit late on the Scourge production. Hatchery is being spotted. Hydral's Den spotted as well. A lot of, how many Scourge are we seeing here? Okay, a couple Scourge. Few shots on the Overlords as they're making their way across. And they're going to be able to, and this is a pretty decent SimCity this time from Tom. See if he drops a Sutton colony there at the 9 o'clock. The Zerglings just kind of fanning out across the map and all on patrol to check things out. In the meantime, Citadel of Dune's out, leg speed upgrading. We do have the Gateway Flood in the midst of this. Not as many Zealots, so it looks like it's going to be a +1 Zealot leg speed move out with a Dark Templar in tow. Few Dark Templar in tow, but not a lot of Corsair. So just the 2 Corsair providing support, no +1 weapons on top of this. And so the Zerglings might end up being beneficial. It looks like some Hydralisks being produced at the 9 o'clock, and some Scourge also in patrol mid-map. I don't think they saw that shimmer as they made it the way across, and I don't know that they were alerted with the Zergling kill that there's a Dark Templar out in the map. But we do have an Overlord here at the 9 o'clock. We've got several Overlord at the natural. We do not have an Overlord in the main right this second, but at the same time, we don't have a drop from White to really be of any concern. Additional Zergling wiped out. That should reveal the, yeah, that reveals the location to Tom of the Dark Templar. Dark Templar making his way up there despite the information reveal. Has his armor shredded, took a little bit of base damage, but is going to back off otherwise. The Scourge going for a very wide patrol route, and are going to see the Zealots with the +1 weapons making their way out. With Dark Templar and tow, are they going to pin on those Zealots though? Yeah, it looks like they are going to pin and follow the Zealots as they're making their way across. So Tom's sitting again on the 3 bases. White has a lot of his macro is actually pretty on point this time. Still has a 20 supply lead. He doesn't need to commit with these Zealots. I don't know that he'd get a lot accomplished, especially with all the Hydralisks at the natural. And the Hydralisks can crash down and move up to the 9 o'clock. Especially with this ramp breach, it's really hard to shove your way up to this ramp. So making the way up, yeah, the Hydralisks are making the way. The Dark Templar are going to get some free pot shots on these Hydralisks though, with a lack of Overlord coverage. But the Zealots are actually going to get some bonus kills, so good trade overall for White. And a lot of Hydralisk corpses left on the ground in the midst of this, and that might have opened, so really nice bait there. Moved up to the 9 o'clock and then just attacked the army. And now, after that exchange, he has a sufficient attack force to breach the 9 o'clock. And that actually, honestly, might be it. I think this is... yeah, he's going to be able to take this plus bonus. Several Hydros attempting to be produced on the front. The Zealots, nice, decent drone drill, but there's a Dark Templar in the midst of this to wipe them out as well. And this is going to be a lot of dead territory. I think White might be able to just continue the fight and wipe a lot else out. Especially if he moves if he has the wherewithal to move a Dark Templar and plant it here on the ramp. So just leave the Dark Templar planted. Okay, he's drawing back in. But with these engagements, he's going to get the Evolution Chamber. That's going to delay +1. He might get a hatchery or 2 in the midst of this as well, depending on the focus fire. Lurker aspect being upgraded. And yeah, just focusing on the lower hatchery, recognizing he's got a, yeah, but man, a lot of damage. So all sorts of drones massacred. Evolution Chamber gone, hatchery gone. Huge amounts of damage. The one advantage, I guess, is that the 3rd wasn't planted yet, but White with the follow-up. With the gateway production he's got, with the tech he's got, he can go ahead and move up and grab that 12 o'clock. Just needs to get a cannon down in a hurry. Zealot is retreating. I think Tom has to go all in at this stage. Yeah, he is going all in, it looks like, moving a lot of Hydralisks to that northern corridor. Several drones are at the 9 o'clock, so it looks like he did go for a potential flood of drones in the midst of this, or maybe he just re-saturated some drones around. Should have kept a better eye on that. Some Zealots, again, catching some Hydralisks mid-map. Nope, again, this is going to be a long time for +1 weapons. And the Zealots, rather than worrying about this 12 o'clock base, drawing the Hydralisks away and marching back to the 9 o'clock. Which, okay, now the Hydralisks are redrawing, but some Dragoons moving in to go ahead and engage. So the Scourge able to spot it. This would be great if Tom could stop it, but once these Dragoons are in place, yeah, there's focus firing this away. They might be able to get a probe kill, which is something. Might be able to get a High Templar kill. Never mind, High Templar dropping the Side Storm with some support. The Zealots, in the meantime, tried to crash into the 9 o'clock. Looks like the Lurker Egg was able to halt them, and they got cleaned up. Not even sure if they breached. Should have checked that location a little bit more carefully. But right now, White up a bunch of workers as a 40 supply lead in a very strong position. As long as he keeps that forage rolling, that's going to allow him to just continue to maintain that upgrade advantage. He's got +2 weapons to not even +1 weapons finished on the Hydralisk, by the way. We have a second forge up yet. I'm not seeing a second forge rolling right this second, but White still is going to maintain that upgrade lead over the long haul. We have some lurkers here, but as soon as that observatory, there's the observatory. As soon as the observers are out in the field, there's not going to be a lot that Tom can do to hold White back. And there, we'll see if this Overlord gets picked off top right. Is this mostly Overlord, skirt? Yeah, a little bit of vision bottom right. And White actually, is he gonna, I'm not sure if this is a posture. I think this is mostly posturing to put Tom in a situation where he's not entirely sure what's going on with his opponent. He's got to rebuild Overlords because he's in the red. So I think White moving across there to give an indication as though he potentially was going for additional base is going to have to back off this because we have some Side Storm, but that's the only form of detection we've got to deal with these lurkers. Side Storm hitting right there and backing off otherwise. Tom's still trying to grab this base to try to stay economically relevant, is getting a lot of free hits. But as soon as the Observer presses forward, it looks like the Observer currently sitting at the natural expansion. As soon as the Observer rejoins here, it's going to be an easy walk back from White to go ahead and clear this base off, particularly with the +2 weapons where he's just hitting so hard. Tom rededicating a lot of troops to the 9 o'clock location to hold. I still don't think that's going to be sufficient, especially with the upgrade differential. And on top of that, if White repositions, either he could just grab the base if he wanted to, but his other option is he could just reposition and make his way down to the 9 o'clock, just knowing that a lot of these troops will potentially be out of position. The High Templar, do we have Storm here? We do have a lot of Storm with the rear High Templar to engage. The Observer coming along that edge, and that Lurker, yeah, getting absolutely wrecked. That's going to be a canceled hatchery. And more lost resources here from Tom. And honestly, we might see a repeat of this with White, and ooh, some additional Overlords getting picked off as well. We could see a repeat of this towards the 9 o'clock location potentially. Drones actually evacuating out here for Tom. Are they going to go for the bottom right? Looks like they might try to skitter out to the bottom right to try to sneak an expansion at that location. Yeah, it looks like this is an escort mission, secret ops, but now, yeah, 9 o'clock base, some Side Storm. At the very least, the Side Storm missed, and we do have some Sutton colonies to make this a lot rougher. Hydralisks are coming up from the rear. That might be a little bit overly ambitious if there was like another 2 cycles of reinforcements. But White's still making up for it with some Side Storm and wiping out a lot of lurkers on the forward field. He's going to have to retreat with the forces he has. Some cannons morphing in on his 4th. He's still maintaining that upgrade lead. Tom has managed to sneak out a drone bottom right. It doesn't look like White at right this second is aware. Look for the gateway count to surge here from White in the midst of this. And right now still has a massive supply lead. Is +1 weapon, okay, +1 weapons at least is finished, but that's as +1 armor is coming online here for White. One small mercy is that a second forge wasn't dropped to just continue to surge that upgrade advantage. Not that White needed it here, but anyway, it looks like White making his way bottom right. I think he's got wind of this. Yeah, I think he recognized, okay, Tom needing additional bases, now found it. I think he was a little bit surprised it was there, but making his way up. And not over dedicate. Well, let's see. He needs the High Templar up there. It looks like he is reinforcing with some additional troops. Is Tom going to go to try to save this? No. Too late to save it. Or is he going to try to go for the natural expansion? It looks like a lot of lurkers were initially scrambling towards the natural. Now they're going to take that high ground plateau briefly in between, but this is honestly potentially leaving him exposed. However, with bad observer discipline, some free units donated at the very least, some Zerglings scrambling up to go ahead and check out what's going on up here. They're going to go ahead and run headlong into cannons. Hive Tech is up, but Tom really needs some additional gas to make this work. He is going to go ahead and try to grab that 5 o'clock base in the midst of this. White doesn't look like he's going to swat that base. He's having some trouble maneuvering. Ooh, losing some additional troops for free with bad maneuvering, but he's got, again, the 40 supply lead. He's got the upgrade advantage. He's got all sorts of bases. He's definitely got a macro lead. It looks like a few additional troops making their way across. Are they going to spot the 5 o'clock though? So rechecking, playing whack-a-mole right here. Corsair is spotting that 9 o'clock, attempting to construct. I think Tom is going to get away with this base, it looks like, especially with all these units on the high ground plateau. White's making his way all the way across, probably to go ahead and swat down that 9 o'clock. Isn't able to stop the units as they're streaming across to discover the 5. So with everything here at the 5 o'clock, White now has an option to go ahead, yeah, just go ahead and dive in to the 9 o'clock, and potentially he can scoot down and threaten the lower expansion as well with what's left of that army. Maybe he just has to be careful rallying the troops across. And another cancellation of a hatchery. Tom, you can see, he's just desperate to try to get the macro engine up and running. Still, it feels like the 40 supply advantage has been absolutely pegged for White for the latter part of this match. White now scooting forward. Does he observe? Okay, he does have an observer alongside to clear out that lurker. I don't think he has the raw amount of zealots to breach the high ground. But what he could do is make a motion towards that natural. It looks like there are a lot of troops currently scrambling, waiting right there. And there's a lot of Psystorm waiting to be utilized. Tom remotioning. I'm not sure if this is going to be a pincer maneuver on these troops. It looks like a couple defilers being picked off, or if he wants to try to take a shot at that 12 o'clock base. Corsair sneaking his way up. White finding some of these troops. This is really prime Psystorm. Hydral's getting obliterated in these units that Tom cannot afford to lose right this second. Corsair continuing to stay active and scout. It looks like what Tom has managed to do is he's trying to play the whack-a-mole version of this and grabbing yet another base bottom right, and he's just hoping White doesn't maneuver troops down that direction, because if troops do make their way to the bottom right-hand corner, he cannot hold any of that territory right this second. At least not without just pure Dragoon and some Defiler luck. Even then, the Dragoons probably could just smack down the hatcheries, but Tom doing what he's getting some sunken colonies down. I do like that Tom is opting to use sunken colonies, particularly on these ramp positions, to make them harder to breach, rather than sparing the drones, which is putting him in a better situation than he would be otherwise. Handful of Zerglings and Zealots still on that high ground plateau, but White cycling back around towards the natural expansion is going to find a lot of troops. Lurkers just now morphing, and Psystorm dropping right on their head. Not long. It's a hard life as a lurker here at this natural. You come into existence within half a second, all of a sudden you're eating a bunch of electricity out of the air. Or I guess it's psionic. It's demonstrated by lightning, but it's psionic energy, so your brain gets scrambled. Zerglings, and looks like a Hydra streaming from the rear. Beautiful Psystorm from White as far as the follow-up, however. Two Zealots did make their way into the natural, but White going to regroup with the rest of his troops, and Hydralsten, I think, is going to get wiped out. No Defiler here to drop any Psystorm support, or sorry, drop any Darkstorm support. And this is enough Dragoons where they can just swack all of this from a distance. That Lurker is not sufficient to hold this back. More reinforcements trying to come in. Even with the Adrenal upgrade, however, the Zerglings just don't have the weapon upgrades, and you got 2-2 opposite side, plus 2 Archons, which just absolutely love devouring Zerglings more than anything else. So Hydralsten is gone. Natural expansion is breached. We got a Zealot can easily follow up, take out that 9 o'clock. And this could easily be a walk into top left. Tom gonna GG right there. The series is now tied up 1 apiece. We'll move on to game 3. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for listening.